I know many of you at the moment are trying to digest the pain at the pump news that we gave you a bit earlier on in the program. Super petrol now up by 7 shillings and 58 cents, diesel 7 shillings 94 cents, and kerosene 12 shillings 97 cents. That gentleman patiently waiting is Kwame Owino, the CEO at the Institute of Economic Affairs, to help us make sense of this. Because Kwame, when I look at the breakdown of the latest fuel prices, landing costs, the cost of super, for example, at the port is about 50 shillings. But when you look at the tax breakdown, about 65 shillings, and a few other numbers there to make it 130 something. How did we get here, Kwame?
Oh, well, I think it's a reflection of the fact that first, crude petroleum is an imported product, and two things affect its prices globally. One is the price of the dollar, and the second one is the average price, what the demand for fuel would be. And in the last 6 months, as has been shown, the prices have been going up in dollar terms. And in the last month, the Kenya shilling has also depreciated. So those two had an upward push. So those are two factors. The third factor is domestic, which is basically taxation. So, of course, this is the first full month in which the 8% excise tax on kerosene is going to apply. And that's why kerosene has had a substantially higher cost going up and up. The rest of those costs are actually the costs that have been calculated as pumping costs, transportation costs, and the margins that are available for both the retailers and the retailers and the wholesale traders.
Kwame, that's a breakdown we'll continue to analyze on this bulletin and in our news even tomorrow. But even, and forgive me for wading into the political arena, even as presidential candidates talk about economic models, can an economy thrive when the cost of basic goods continues to go up, as it inevitably will with this announcement?
No, it shouldn't. But I think it's actually the politicians who fixed this problem, who actually created this problem. Because in 2011, when prices started to go up after the financial crisis, one of the things that they did was they started a price control regime. And so the price control regime, I know many people are shouting at the EPRA, which is basically Energy Petroleum Regulatory Authority. It's not their fault. They have a formula passed by Parliament, and they use us to calculate it. So this price control regime was intended to control for volatility and also to make sure that that oil companies were not creaming or gouging against us, but it's not working. I think when a product is globally imported, is globally traded, global factors matter as much as domestic factors. So the main thing that could be changed again is the taxes, which members of parliament obviously have approved every now and again based on the fact that there's a big deficit. So part of it is our spending problem. I think the global problem is one that can be solved by better growth prospects for Kenya's incomes. So it mostly reflects the part of it that can be controlled are definitely in our hands.
Kwame, and I don't know if this is a question you can answer, but for stakeholders who are watching this broadcast tonight and for Kenyans who just wonder, is there any good news? Is there any way to stem this sort of price increment, looking at whether we could have had a better strategic fuel reserve strategy, for example? Is there anything that can be done, or is this simply inevitable?
Okay, you speak about the strategic reserve. Just 2 days ago, actually, China had started to wind down its strategic reserve because it also had a strategic reserve and it has not had the effect that was expected. So strategic reserves are kept by some countries, but in Kenya's case, it would actually be worse because what it would do is it would add to demand for fuel. And that obviously would put an upward pressure on the amount of fuel that's available, pushing out other people who could afford it. Secondly, it would be a waste of government money to actually store fuel in those quantities because you never know how prices go up and down, which would again be done by prices. So what's the good thing? I think Parliament should have the courage, the Treasury should have the courage, and actually just scrap this fuel pricing mechanism and allow firms to compete without colluding with each other, and hope that as the economy grows and as fuel becomes more cost effective, because the neighboring countries obviously have cheaper fuel, and part of the reason they have cheaper fuel is because their taxes are not as high as Kenyans. So that's the only part of this that is in Kenya's control. The rest would be actually just general economic management and competition within the markets.
Thank you so much, Kwame Owino, just for helping us really understand what's going on. Almost sounds like a situation of damned if we do, damned if we don't. But you're pointing a finger at Parliament and at Treasury to work on what they need to work on to ensure that we don't have shocks like this, as I'm sure many Kenyans are coming to terms with those, what the implications of the rise, whether you're primarily dealing in super, in kerosene or in diesel at a time like this. And I'm